to our podcast where we're discussing our story. Last episode, we discussed Gulf Shores and Mississippi and how it led us to Nashville, Tennessee. So that's what we're going to be discussing tonight.
Yep. So, I guess backtracking just a little bit back into Mississippi of before we left. So God spoke to us a bunch. We got inspiration to, we were just talking about, between episodes here, switching out batteries in the camera and whatnot. We got inspiration to do this podcast in September. You said at the Sadie Robertson
yes. Okay.
Conference.
Yes. It's the Low Sister Conference. I went there and they had different breakout sessions that you can choose from. And it essentially said like media or whatever it was. I didn't realize that it was going to be a podcast. So I go to this breakout session and the entire thing is about podcasts. And I had already been feeling like God was asking us to do a podcast instead of like video vlogging style that we were trying to do, because every time we tried it, it just didn't work. And so I was like, maybe he wants us to do a podcast. And I had talked to my friend about it who had just started a podcast at church. And like, I was just feeling very strongly about podcast. And then when I went to the Sadie Robertson conference, it was kind of confirmed. And so I came home and told him that it made sense to do it, and I guess he was finally on board.
It took me a minute to be on, because I'm like, I don't want to be a podcaster. I didn't want to do this, essentially. But I couldn't argue with the fact that it's the best way to tell our story. Yeah. Now, had we actually vlogged and been decent at it the whole time we traveled, I say that would have maybe turned out well, but while you're in it, you don't realize the lesson that you're learning. It took us until well after each lesson to learn. So I guess this is probably the best avenue of sharing the story.
Yeah, and honestly, I think God knew that we weren't going to be able to do this.
And we didn't know the whole thing was sharing our story until about this time anyways.
True.
It was about September-ish of whatever year that was. I don't even know what year we're in now, of us sharing our story as God being like, I want you to do that. And I mean, there's more to it now, obviously 2 years later, or a year. Yeah. 2 years later now. Yeah. Coming up close to, but yeah, so it started there. We're back at church and we were doing all the stuff like, preach the message to the youth kids at church about being bold and sharing your story, and then talked about it on stage at church with the pastor, and a lot was happening. And we
made t-shirts too.
Made the big bold t-shirts.
We mentioned this on a previous episode, but that t-shirt design I created when we were in Texas. So didn't think anything of it, just thought it was a cool t-shirt. And then now all of a sudden God was like, hey, actually it's by design and here's the message that goes with it. Yeah.
And we're hoping to turn essentially this channel into is a sharing your story. We're getting really close to we want to get other people on here. I don't want it to be just about our story. We're not special. I want to get other people, share their story, have them just really glorify God through stories, and hopefully someone can pick up on one of these stories and relate to it, and it just help, grow that seed that's been planted, or encourage someone else to go and share your story with somebody you don't really know, somebody you want to share the gospel with. And testimonies are powerful, and we really want to highlight testimonies. We feel like God's laid it on our hearts to encourage other people to share their story, and just because another common thing that over and over God tells us is whenever we say, well, what do you want me to let them know? It's like, tell them that I love them. That's what he tells us each time. And it's like, well, how do I do that? Share your story. And it was like, because, you know,
Yeah.
we just feel like it's very much so God's love is intertwined in the stories of how he works in our lives, and it relates to others. But anyways, off on that. Left, you know,
We're
back.
just very passionate about that because that's the whole reason why we're doing what we're doing. So
Right.
that's why we get off on our little preaching.
Obviously, it's not because I want to sit here in front of a camera.
Yeah.
But
All right.
so we're in Mississippi.
Yep.
A lot of that's going on. We head to Nashville. But right before we go, once again, here we are trying to, you know, with control, like we're going to go and do this thing in this city, you know, like the Bible verse says. But we're going to head to Nashville on this date. Well, Category 2 hurricane comes up the coast, hits southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, passes right on the top of us in Hattiesburg, and heads straight for Nashville. So the weekend that we're leaving, so like I think it was like
Yeah.
Wednesday it passed here, and we were leaving the Friday. I think I took off of work.
Didn't we like see it or something? We stopped somewhere and you could like see the clouds.
We stopped in actually Utah, Alabama.
Okay, yeah.
It's spelled weird though, like
EU. CAW.
Yeah. So Utah, Alabama, we booked a night at the Love's truck stop. Mm-hmm. But as we were coming up to it on the interstate, you can see like the roundness of the storm. Because it passed here on like Wednesday, so it's Thursday or Friday. It's basically the next day or two.
Yeah.
We hook up and we drive, and it was right there. And I stopped over Nashville for a while. And so we stopped in Alabama. It was kind of right on the outskirts where you can see the band of the storm as it was breaking down. And then we drove into Nashville as it was still raining from the storm into that campground and set this thing up in the rain.
Yeah.
At whatever the marina campground we stayed at, she'll post it. I don't remember the name of it.
Goodness, I don't remember either. It was so pretty.
It was one of our favorites that we stayed at, but
it was beautiful.
Having a 43-foot fifth wheel and a F-350, it was extremely tight to park in that campground. Yeah. Very nice campground, but really expensive. It was a motorhome campground. Be probably more so than a... It
was like more resort style.
Yes, but very nice campground. But I set up in the rain at that place, driving in through the back end of that storm. But of course, hurricane coming through, I was like, well, what's that going to do? And it was like taking the same path we had. Like, it was kind of like panicking, like, well, what do we do? Is it going to put us behind? And
yeah, so like Utah was a blizzard. Nashville was a hurricane.
Yeah. But drove up there, got settled in. It was great. Mm-hmm. There in October, we actually stayed a little bit longer halfway through November. Mm-hmm. But get to Nashville, same story. Like, let's go see what we can see. Well,
and also too, like, we knew that we were going to meet up with that couple. So like last episode, I mentioned that we met a couple and they were in Franklin. So they had like a home church there. So we knew that we were going to like meet up with them and go to church at, what is it? Church of the City?
Church of the City in Franklin.
In Franklin.
I think they have like 3 different locations. I think they have one in Franklin, one in Murfreesboro, and I think one in like Pennsylvania somewhere.
Yeah.
But so actually reached out to them, and we would learn our lesson. Like, we're not going to a different church.
Yep.
Florida was like, okay, we're not wasting time. We're going to go to this church. Once again, we go and we're thinking, we don't know. We feel like God gave us this message of like being bold and sharing your stories. Like, man, who are we going to get to share this with and stuff? And it's like, we're going to go to this church, and it was massive. We did.
Oh my goodness.
We reached out to the couple. They weren't at church that Sunday because they were like a niece or something was getting baptized somewhere else. Mm-hmm. One thing I will say about this Church of the City, I really loved the way that they did their baptisms. just because it's something I've never seen before. Like, so for us, we're smaller, but every time someone gets baptized, you know, whoever's baptizing, whether, you know, it's pastor or somebody else, they'll get up there and say, hey, they'll kind of share the story about essentially their baptism story of how they had that conversation to decide, I'm going to give my life to Christ and, you know, baptize. Everybody's excited. Well, this church, I don't know, like 50 people got baptized or something. I don't know. There was like between the families that was on stage to support them and the people who got baptized, there was over 100 people on that stage.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people. There was like 2 baptism troughs or whatever you call it. And they had a camera in each one. Of course, we're in Nashville, so they had this amazing band playing worship music. So it was like the worship part of the service. And they had the people and they had that conversation. Like, you can tell, like, they were saying, like, who do you accept as your Lord and Savior? And they were like, Jesus Christ. And they're like, okay, I baptized your name, blah, blah, blah. And they dunk them under the water. And then the whole church of like a couple thousand people. The church, they had 3 services, and they
it was really powerful.
They said they ran 6,000 to 8,000 people on a Sunday. So, I mean, thousands of people just going uproar of, you know, this person being baptized. And to me, I thought it was like a really cool example of what heaven's like every time someone commits their life to Christ, and it says all of heaven erupts in a uproar and cheers. And so it kind of gave me that as a really cool visual, seeing all those people just excited from them being baptized, and then that one come up, and then the camera switched to the next one, and they would be baptized. And it was just, while the music was going, I don't know, it's just a really cool experience.
It was really, really cool.
And it had amazing coffee.
Okay.
Had some coconut, a little squirt stuff to go in the coffee, the creamer. It was really good. And it's like, wow, this is awesome. So we were running on a top end church coffee high and this baptism high. So it was really cool. Our time in Nashville, once again, was fun. I mean, beautiful campground, just on the lake. Percy Priest, I think. Percy Priest Lake, I think it was.
I don't know.
You know, broke out the paddle boards out there, spent some time in the lake, fished it a little bit. I don't know, it was
really nice.
Nashville was nice. It wasn't what we expect. I'm thinking Strip in Nashville. The only thing that we did in the Strip was drive down it, just so I can say I've driven down the Strip. Obviously got no interest in, especially with a 5-year-old going in and out the ballrooms on the Strip. Did find a couple blocks off the Strip some Chicago deep dish pizza. Like,
oh yeah, what was that called? 3?
It was an area code, like a Chicago area code.
I'll put that in there too.
Some kind of pizza. We hit it like 3 times. Oh man, it was good.
Yeah. And also too, like, our family came up and we were able to celebrate Ellie's birthday there. Her birthday's in October.
Her dad flew in.
Yeah, my dad flew in. My mom flew in.
Yeah. She just happened to was flying in.
She was going on a girls' trip. It just happened to be the same time that we were there, so it really worked out.
My mom drove up.
Yeah, your mom drove up.
Camper. Sister came up. Troublemaker.
No, but it was really nice. And then also too, I mean, Nashville, like, we were able to meet, like, there was some food trucks right by us.
Yeah, they had a food truck in the campground we were at.
Yeah, we ate there way too much. But anyways, we met a young girl there that went to college, and her dad, it was his food truck. We were able to just, like, share our story, and she was able to share a little bit of hers, and we just, like, built another relationship with somebody. That was really cool. And then also the couple that we mentioned, we were able to, like, hang out with them. Yeah,
we had church with them. We had lunch after church and dinner a couple times with them.
Yeah.
Got to get to know them a little bit better, have talk with them. But I guess the big thing for us there was trying to figure out, okay, what is God, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And so, like, of course, we got big in our head thinking, like, this crazy thing, or I feel like such an idiot. But like,
we feel like an idiot, but we feel like we also need to say it out loud, because y'all need to know. what, like, that's what God's asking us to do, like, not leave out any detail.
Yeah. But we're like, okay, we're going to go. God's got us a story. We're going to go to this church. Well, maybe somehow we're gonna speak at this church or something. Well, am I just dumb, just big headed, like scared to talk on stage 1 month, 2 months later? I'm gonna be talking
in front of 6,000 people.
And I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it because it's not something I want to do, but I'm willing to do it, Lord. All this stuff. I actually run down to the preacher at this church, and I don't know what I'm expecting. I felt like God was like, go talk to him, and I was like, nervous, super nervous to go and talk to this preacher of this church. I hung around after service, and he's like standing in the front. We sat purposely pretty close to the stage, and I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to this guy. I don't know what I'm gonna say, thinking my wife's gonna be there, got my back.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
Wait, the kid next to her takes her jacket.
It was an accident, but like he picked up the jacket thinking it was his dad's, and there's so many people, y'all. It was like a crowd of people. So I'm like chasing this child down, being like, hey, I think that's my jacket. And he's just like walking faster and faster. I literally chased him all the way down until he handed the jacket to his dad. And his dad was like, this is not my jacket. Go bring it back. And I was like, that's my jacket. I didn't know he was talking to the preacher.
I felt like I needed to do this. Of course, she runs off. I got the kid. I'm trying to talk to this guy. I'm like, I feel like God's got a message. He wants me to share it with you for your church. And he's just like, okay, thanks. I'm just like, I felt like such an idiot, but like, I felt like I had to do it, had to be obedient. Glad I did. I felt really dumb, but at the same time,
like the good kind of dumb, where you're just like, I don't know why you asked me to do that, God, but I did it.
It was very embarrassing because like, what, just they're going to be like, oh, well, great. I don't know who you are, but how about you come and speak to my church? Tell me more. Yeah. I don't know. But I did it, and it kind of, I guess, humbled me, maybe.
It gave him the slice of humble pie.
But also, it taught me, like, you know what? I'd rather be embarrassed doing what I feel like God's asked me to do and be wrong even than be disobedient, because, I mean, clearly, not that I've been completely disobedient, but I haven't been 100% like, all right, God, you tell me to jump and I'm just going to go, So it was a good lesson, because now I'm like, you know what, that was pretty embarrassing, but it didn't hurt nothing. It just hurt my feelings. So it was a cool experience. But then after that, we left. It was like our last weekend, one of our last weekends to go to this church. I'm like, we stayed over. Like, instead of staying a month there that we commit everywhere, we stayed an extra 2 or 3 weeks, halfway through November in Nashville. And we were like, all right, well, we're gonna have this big giant revelation. And then I felt like I needed to call back home to, our pastor, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, whatever. And then I called my buddy Matt, is one of the other pastors at our church back home, and was like, I don't know what we're doing. Essentially, it was kind of like finally at a place like, I don't know what we're doing here. And one thing that's been on my heart from the beginning of our travels is discipleship. And that's one thing that I sat down for a lot of time. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, like, man, I want to make this like discipleship guide. And even like praying about it one day, like, God, like, I feel like you put this in my heart. What do you want me to do? And he gave me some stuff, which I'll share with you eventually. But, just basically one of the questions he asked me, well, what did I lead you through? Because I'd pray, at one point I'd pray, like, where do you want me to read? And he'd point me into the specific book in the Bible, and I'd read it. And I stopped and I thought about the books that he brought me through. And it's like, okay, well, you think about it, you put it in that order, and you put it in perspective of what each one of those books is about. It's like, well, yeah, that would make sense for teaching someone, discernment and, learn about Jesus, discernment and wisdom and application, stuff like that. Which we did make a little study to help point into, I guess, the direction of some of these things, spiritual principles. But
Yeah.
I'll call Matt, and he's like, well, something we've been praying about a lot lately is needing a discipleship pastor at church. And I was, at this time, I was like, well, it sounds good, but we've kind of come to a point where, like, we don't want to do anything that God, I don't want it to be my decision. I didn't want it to be my decision.
Well, we didn't, just like with our traveling, like leaving state to state, we didn't want to leave traveling unless we had peace about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's kind of where we were, in which we actually spoke with the couple that we met there in Nashville about it. And he's like, man, I don't, because I tell him I don't really know what to do. I don't think if I told him about the discipleship position or not, but
I think you did.
I did.
When we were at the wing place.
That's true. And, but, because he had been in ministry before, and he spent most of his career in ministry until the radio station, and he went into the battery plant. But, it's kind of, once again, confusing. It's like, what do we do? And crazy thing is, last time we had come through Mississippi, we kind of had this feeling of wanting to come back, oddly enough, because we left when we decided we're going to travel. It was almost to the point where we didn't like really even being in Petal.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I think
not that we didn't like it. We were like, all right, we felt
okay, like, to leave, essentially.
We're getting distant from it.
But then
Coming back through.
So from my end, well, one, and we'll talk about this in a different episode, but God gave me the acronym that we used for that study while we were in Tennessee. Two, I kept hearing go back. But like, I don't know, in your mind, you're like, go back where? Go back what? Like, you just don't, I hate to say that, I'm always questioning what I hear, but like, truly, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And we left Nashville.
Yeah, we felt, at that point, we kind of felt like, okay, it's time for us to leave Nashville, which we headed back to the deer camp, like we do every year for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We spent over a month at the deer camp, which was really nice.
Yes, it was really, really nice.
Parked the camper.
Just a camper in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
No one's there. My dad and sister and brother-in-law and uncle, they all came up, of course, for like Thanksgiving and hunting season.
Yeah.
But then after that, we were like just by ourselves. And it gave us a really good opportunity to get close to God and to like really pray and seek him out on what we
were going to do.
Like our decision to either go back or continue to travel.
And I felt like the decision wasn't, it was mine to make. And so it wasn't like, you need to go and do this one thing. God called me. He said, like, basically it was our choice of like, what do we want? And because all he asked us to do is essentially to lead his people. Like, whenever I asked him, I was like, that's all he wants us to help lead in whatever way, in whatever form, whether it be leading people to Christ through social media and the camera and traveling and kind of turning something into that and pursuing, and we're meeting people and we're planting seeds everywhere we go, because we learned on the road that like wherever we go, whatever we do, this is what we're going to do. We're going to travel, and we're going to, even if it's just to plant seed with one person everywhere we go, we're going to make that contact, or go back home and take a discipleship pastor position. And little did I know, the three of them they would meet and have their staff meetings, and they were praying about it. And my buddy Adam calls me and says, hey, we've been praying about it, and we all decided to go pray separate, and they all felt like they got the same answer, and they all got my name. from praying for a discipleship pastor.
Yeah.
He told me this after I made the decision. I'm glad he did, because I didn't want to feel like I was coerced into anything.
Mm-hmm. And I will say too, so two things. I was struggling with it. Like I really, really was struggling with it. I went for a walk like around the property, and I came back and I was on my knees praying, and I had my eyes closed and I was talking to God, and I felt like I heard stand up. And, you know, immediately you're like on your knees praying, like, why would I stand? And I felt like I heard it again, like stand up. And immediately when I stood, I heard, see, you know my voice. And that was like my moment to know that like he is telling us to go back. It's going to be okay, to like trust him. And essentially we get to choose what we want to do, because regardless of whether we travel, just like you said, like we came to the realization at different times. But so like he's over here talking to the guys and, you know, praying on it on his end. And I'm over here struggling with God, being like, I thought we were traveling. Like, what are we doing? And struggling with it on my end. And then we both came together and had peace about it. And
actually, where we kind of come to the final decision, it was a rainy morning after Thanksgiving, cold out. It was chilly out. Mm-hmm. We had the TV on. We were watching Sunday morning service, streaming it. Because while we were in Minden, we didn't find a church anywhere. We streamed church on TV. Because sometimes that's what we would do rather than go and find a church. We'd just, you know, stream our home church.
Right. And
that service, for whatever reason, was like that morning we made the decision, like, we're gonna do it. Mm-hmm. And then we got into a huge fight.
The worst fight.
It wasn't the worst fight, but
it was terrible. Don't diminish it. Truly, we decided that we were gonna come back to Petal, Mississippi, and
we're like up here on like this
on a high, super excited about it. You know, all this stuff. We finally decide, and we get in this terrible fight. I'm talking about one of those fights where we like don't want to talk to each other. Like I was crying.
I don't even know what we argued about.
I can't remember what we fought about either. But in that moment, I knew, like, God pointed out to me that we were being attacked because we were on the right, like, path of what he was asking us to do. Like, we were in line with what he wanted us to do. And so the enemy attacked us so hard in that moment. And then once we called it out for what it was, then I said, we're being attacked right now. Like, he's just messing with us, essentially. We were fine. Like, we reconciled, but then also we were like back, we had like peace about it. And like, we were fine.
Yeah. But yeah, so we made a decision to move back to Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we've been for the last, I guess, couple episodes of the last year that, you know, because this episode should have been last March or April.
Yeah.
We've bought a house, been doing this podcast in this camper. Mm-hmm. Hopefully now we can move in the house. Or who knows, we may just stay doing the podcast in here because it's easy.
It is easy.
Put the kid to bed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, took the discipleship position. Got on stage for the first time and preached a full message. Nervous once again.
He did great.
But yeah, we're a quarter mile down the street from church, probably a little bit more, maybe a mile down the street from church.
We're super close. I feel like that's its own story too, because when we were house shopping,
we were property shopping.
We found
what we thought was a perfect property, 5 acres. Mm-hmm. Had a house pad on it. Was like, well, man, perfect. We'll put the camper here. We'll build a house slowly. And then like God, that's it. Shut the door, and then 10 minutes later, got a call like that door's been shut.
Yep, door shut. We looked at another house. We were gonna go see it the next day. Caught on fire. The house literally caught on fire, and we were not able to go look at it. We still went look at it, and it was the vibe and like, God was like, absolutely not. He didn't say those words, I did, but like, I felt like just the strongest no
Yeah, because
ever.
I thought it had like I don't know, like a guest house kind of sorts, and was like, well, we parked the camper next to the guest house. I'll gut it. I'll remodel it. Be perfect.
Anyways, door after door closed on houses, and then we finally found our house that we are in right now. Like, we're literally in our driveway right now at our house. And oh my goodness, I can't even explain the peace and the joy when we walked into this house, when we walked into the backyard, and like, we just kept saying over and over again, like, God, if this is the house for us, you know, make it happen. If it's not, close the door. And well, here we are. And
it's the one house that probably shouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
like
definitely not.
Our friend Heather, she was doing like the insurance on it stuff, and she's like, I can't explain how you know it worked out, but it everything just worked out. Mm-hmm. So,
and then, you know, we're right by church. We're right by our friends. We're able to, you know, have people over, whether for discipleship or small group or whatever it is. It's been a huge blessing, and God once again confirmed that we're exactly where we're supposed to be through a poem for me. And I don't know what he did for you, but like, we know we're supposed to be here, and it's really cool watching him work through us while we're home.
Yeah. And we've enjoyed being back a lot. Do miss traveling. I still,
Yeah.
I don't think we're done with traveling. I think it's still a part of our life. I don't know if we'll ever just not have a camper. If so, it'll be for a short period of time or something. But you know, we haven't traveled much. Things have been a little crazy for us in this last year, but
You're shaking the camper again.
But I've been sitting still too long. But I don't know. We're not done with traveling, but we're grateful to be back with our church family around and able to do what we've been doing. And it's been a whole different challenge of learning ministry, never having been in it before as someone, you know, technically on staff or whatever we want to call it, just as a pastor at a church. Mm-hmm. So it's really been fun learning from the people, the elders that I've been around. And we have a whole bunch of people we can use their stories. That's great.
Yeah, so if you're watching and we know you, we'll be calling you to be on our podcast. No, but truly, we make a joke about it. But like, honestly, that's what we want to do. We want so many different stories so that all people can relate to them. So like, maybe our story, you can't relate to it, or maybe, you know, you can, but either way, we just want to be able to show God's goodness and his faithfulness through stories.
Yep.
And keep him in the present. And that's why we are changing our name.
Yeah, so tonight we did 3 episodes tonight to kind of get the story caught up to kind of where we are. And then we have one more to share. But we're going to, because of that, I think we're also going to change the name of the podcast from our Journey Journal, or it's hard to say. And I was going to come up with the name.
First off, he always complains about the name of it, but like, he's the one that came up with
I can barely remember my name.
But anyways, needless to say, God has revealed different things to us along the way. And so we have decided to now call our podcast Be Bold.
Yeah, the Be Bold podcast or something like that. So, because we want to revolve it around sharing stories and encouraging others to do the same. So,
and being bold and standing firm.
And we want to get other people's testimonies, either sitting in these chairs or on our couch in the living room, wherever we can. I don't care if we got to go to their house and do it. And then also, like, we run across people all over that are doing things for Christ, or because God's inspired them, bold things, whether it's, I've seen a guy preaching on the side of the road. I want to look for those opportunities to speak to them. But all in timing, and we, you know, trusting that God's going to put the right people in front of us to share their story and grow it, because it's all truly just to glorify Him.
Yep.
So
guys, we're going to wrap up. That's pretty much our whole story of traveling. And then next episode, we're going to share a story that we've honestly been afraid to share until like this past week, when God really pointed it out to me that it needs to be shared. And so we're going to share it next episode. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in the next one. Good night.